Our lives are a string of insights, flashes of inspiration that can be the catalyst for new ideas. However, our pace of life these days means we tend to miss some of them completely. I'm Dave Hill, and I'm the host of the Simple Reflections podcast, a fortnightly series of interviews with people from all walks of life. Our conversations are an invitation to reflect on some of the simple insights my guests have had that have gone on to have a profound impact on their lives. So grab a cuppa and a biscuit, join us, slow down for a little while and see what shows up for you. Welcome to the next episode of the Simple Reflections podcast. Today I'm joined by Chris Dorris. Chris is a coach, author and podcaster from Arizona in the USA. And I was introduced to him through my coach, Shazia Govinji, who you'll remember from a previous podcast last year. She thought that Chris's book, the Book of Mental Toughness Mantras, would be quite interesting for me to read. And it's something that I've really enjoyed. I've listened to, I've read, and I've shared with a number of my clients as well now. And I had an idea for sharing some of his content, and I asked his permission to do that, which I'll be doing on LinkedIn visually. And I thought I'll be cheeky and just ask if he'd come on the podcast too. And he very, very kindly said yes. So, Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Dave. That's a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much.
No, it's very kind of you to be here. I am always interested to see how people end up where they end up. And, the journey that your career has taken you from social work with people in Atlantic City that were really struggling in life, all the way through to coaching high-performing teams and individuals, either individually or as a group. I wonder, one, how surprised you are of how that's panned out, that journey itself, and what's been the biggest thing that you think has been running through all of that for you, that's been guiding you along the way?
I feel like you have ESP, really, because before you pressed record here, you and I chatted for a few minutes, and I mentioned to you that I had a visit from an old, childhood friend from the beach in New Jersey, where I grew up, a small town island called Sea Isle City, New Jersey, just south of Atlantic City. And I was sharing with him the answer that I'm going to share with you. We were talking about exactly that. So with respect to the first part of your question, surprise, 0. I'm not the least bit surprised. And I'll tell you why. It's because I have always trusted the organizing intelligence inherent within my passion. I have never, and if anybody ever asks me, and they never do, I wish they would. It's too late. I've ruined it. You can't ask me now. If they would say, what are you most proud of? Which is kind of similar. I would say the answer is I stayed with one thing. I stayed with the one thing. And what I was telling Steve, my buddy Steve Barry, who I hung out with last night, was that my neighbors, they were so full of joy. They were an old retired couple. They used to work on the Philadelphia Railroad. And they were this just joy-filled older couple, Dan and Mame Kane. They had one child, a daughter. Guess what they named her?
Joy.
Candy.
Oh.
Candy Kane.
Poor thing. That's unfair.
Yeah, it worked though.
Yeah.
So anyway, they would always have people all through the summer. Their house was like, they had a rotation of guests every week. Different people they would host because they had a house, 4 houses from the beach. It's just beautiful. And they would just share, and they would have happy hour on their front porch. They would go inside for dinner, and then they would retire to the back patio for cocktails and laughter every day. And my bedroom faced their house. Now, my house was dark because my father had died when he was only in his early 40s. I was 9. And then we really started to struggle financially. There was a lot of scarcity in my home. Mm-hmm. And there was not a lot of joy. So there's a real stark contrast between these two homes. So I'd be in my room at night reading Hardy Boys books, and I would just start laughing. There's nothing funny about the Hardy Boys books. But the reason I'm laughing is because laughter is contagious, and there was always laughter coming through my window from their backyard. And I memorized whose laugh is whose.
Cool.
And Mrs. Coffee, she had the most boisterous, unapologetic cackle, which was the whole town could hear her laughing. It was just so. So what happened for me was there was this contrast, and I didn't realize I was noticing it. In retrospect, it's so abundantly clear, like so many things are, right? But what I see now is that what I was experiencing then was that they're making a decision to experience life joyfully, with enthusiasm and celebration. And in my house, it wasn't that. And I found that my neighbors experienced their choice very appealing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I committed my life to, is making that choice, is empowering people to make that choice. And that's the answer to the second part of your question. The through line is that every iteration of my career has the same backbone or through line or common denominator, which is helping people choose joy over suffering. And therefore, experiencing all the greatness that comes with that choice. So, it was social work initially. And I found that I was working with homeless people. And some people had chronic schizophrenia. Some people were drug addicts. And I found that the people who, for whatever reasons, chose hope, which was a stretch even, they got good breaks.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that in air quotes, really, because I don't really believe in that. They didn't get good breaks. They created good things for themselves. They participated. They played well with the universe.
Yeah. They were alive to possibilities.
There you go. It's a great way of putting it. And then the next iteration was, licensed therapy. And I didn't really like that too much because I just wasn't, I was dealing with people's problems and it wasn't really my wheelhouse, I wanted to deal with people's visions and dreams. And so I switched into coaching, and then the first iteration of that was sports psychology, where I combined my passion for sports with my passion for human potential and spirit, and that was just really beautiful. And I discovered there that it's really cool that humans are designed in such a way that we are at our best when we feel our best, and there's great intelligence in fun.
Yeah,
you
huge.
wrote. So yeah, that was a great podcast I did with Steve Chandler, The Intelligence of Fun. Because when we're having fun, we're experiencing enthusiasm. And as you know, the word enthusiasm comes from the Greek word entheos, which means the creator within. So we're activating creative genius and all good stuff occurs. So, and then that naturally evolved up into, executive coaching and working in the corporate world, which I did not choose. I mean, if there's any surprise, it's that I'm like working with billion-dollar companies in enterprise software. Now, that's why is that a surprise? Because I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know there was a phrase, enterprise software. I'm like, well, what the hell does that mean? But I'm working with companies like Genesys and Salesforce and ServiceNow and these big, international companies. But it's the same work. It's the same exact, nothing's different except the audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's helping. So let me tell you, and I'll shut up.
No.
I'll wrap up you asked one question. You just press go. See you later. My definition of mental toughness, I think is relevant for the rest. It might be relevant for the rest of our conversation. It's certainly relevant for the conversation we've had already. So my definition of mental toughness is this. It's a superpower. And it's hard earned through diligent inner world work. Specifically, it's the ability to respond rapidly to all of life. Not some of it, not most of it, but all of life. Rapidly with grace, mastery, creative genius, and enthusiasm so that we can get to the creation of excellence faster and with least effort. That's the through line. That's why I call myself a mental toughness coach. It's not about the grunt. I mean, maybe sometimes, but really rarely. It's more about its mastery. It's about responding beautifully to all of life so that we can participate with it. I lied. I said I was going to shut up after this. I lied. So when I was in social work, I was getting tired of it. It's really hard work and it doesn't pay jack. Like that's tough stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So hats off to social workers because they're doing hard work and they're not getting reimbursed. And I was getting crispy, so I was exploring other alternatives. And astrophysics was an idea, a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I studied that for a year. And the biggest takeaway that I got out of that, and thank God I did that, and it's influenced all of my work since, is that we live in a flawless operating system. The universe has been unfolding for 15 billion years with flawlessness, flawless choreography. And we are that. And if we can remember that, and then that we get to play with the perfection, then we can we can live in the zone, which is a sports term, when you're peak performance, and because when I ask, I've interviewed thousands of athletes about their peak performances, everybody describes it similarly. And you know what one of the descriptors is? Almost always included effortlessness. Musicians, performers, athletes, when they describe their best ever, like a guitarist, that solo was sick. What the hell were you thinking? Well, I definitely wasn't thinking. And the guitar was like playing itself. It was easy. It was amazing. And I wish it was always like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the through line, is letting that be our experience. The struggle is us acting inauthentically. It's us struggling against reality. Have you familiar with Michael Singer?
No.
He wrote The Untethered Soul.
Okay.
All right, great book. But there's a great video, if you can find it. You look on YouTube, Michael Singer, and the video is entitled something like Stop Struggling Against, or Stop Fighting the Universe. It's beautiful. It's like 5.5 or 6 minutes long. It's so good. In fact, it's spectacular. And I was turned on to it by my great colleague, good friend of Kush, of Van Kush Jane, a guy named Devin Bandison.
Mm-hmm.
You know who he is?
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah.
Great book too, by the way.
It is. Yeah.
Well, the way he said, he's from New York, so he doesn't say fatherhood. He says fatherhood. Fatherhood. My father eat chocolate. He's got this terrible New York accent. So disgrace. Great man, though. Very close friend. I'm allowed to say things like that. All right. That's any other questions that I can take 2 hours to answer?
They were perfect. Thank you so much. It's interesting. The more I look in the direction that we are part of the universe unfolding, but for our thinking that tells us that we're not, the more I've seen that not only does everybody deserve to thrive, but they're designed to. And it just makes it so much simpler then when you're pointing people back to something that's already living within them, they're just unaware of.
That's so good. That's so good. That's like the Lion King, right? Remember who you are. And the analogy of the statue of David. Are you familiar with that one?
In terms of Michelangelo seeing it in the block of
right. So after he completed the statue of David, the whole town of Florence is buzzing, right? And some guy goes and sees it, and he's like, "Holy mackerel, and he finds Michelangelo and he says, "Bro, come on. So how did you create David out of that big block of rock?" And Michelangelo says, "I didn't." And the guy is puzzled. He says, I don't follow. Because, well, you see, I didn't create David. David already existed, concealed within the stone, and all I had to do was chip away at what wasn't. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing, right? That's what we're doing, right? So we're helping ourselves and those in the world around us chip away at the stuff that we've learned that doesn't serve us, so we can return to our natural state, right? As expressions of divine grace in human form. Chipping away. I did some research. I studied in India at a place called the Oneness University.
Okay.
And it was so spectacular. Of all the things I've ever done to awaken my own consciousness, that's the top of the list. The Oneness University in southern India, outside of like 2 hour drive outside of Chennai. And the whole thing is about freeing ourselves from the conditioning of our past so that we can experience reality as it is.
Mhm.
Because reality as it is good.
Yeah. Yeah. And most, in fact, no, all of the time, I'm going to be bold, all of the time that we find ourselves struggling is us fighting against what's actually happening.
You're going to love that video by Michael Singer. You're going to love it. I look forward to hearing your response.
No worries. I'll have a watch, and I will report back. Hmm. While I was going through both reading and listening to the Book of Mental Toughness Mantras, there were a couple that jumped out at me, because they're things that I find I rub up against, certainly with the veterans that I support on the side of the work that I do. One of which was I choose peace amidst chaos. That one really spoke to me. And ain't bad just is, which just comes back to what we were, literally just talking about. This is your body of work. You are in and out of it all the time in that sense. Have you found there one or two that are repeat, that come up regularly with clients that you're working with, that are sort of almost a go-to in a way?
A lot of them, and that's in fact that's what the book, the origin of the book is because of that. I mean, all these mantras I'm using them. They're coming up all the time and using them. I thought, well, let's just put them together in a collection, for God's sake. It's a great collection, And in writing the book, I learned that the word mantra itself is Sanskrit, which means protector of the mind. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I didn't either. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I love that. I didn't even know it until I was working on the book. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Protector of the mind. So yeah, all these phrases help you protect your mind from the conditioning that we learn that has us unnecessarily settle, struggle, and suffer. Wayne Dyer is the source of the first one because he said that was one of his favorite definitions of enlightenment, is the ability to choose peace. I mean, he had 7 kids, and he would drive them all to school. That's like his school bus. And there's 7 kids in his one of the big old truck that he had, like a Suburban or something. And they're all going nuts, fighting each other for lunch, snacks, or just, you took my seat, and all chaos. So he put a Post-it note on his dashboard that says, I can choose peace rather than this. And I thought, and that's one, I loved him. I listened to every second of his PBS shows and read his books. Are all over there on my bookshelf. And that was one of the things that really landed. That, and when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. The dude was a wizard. So yeah, the ability to choose peace amidst chaos. The operative word there is choose. And an interesting word is chaos, because that's just an interpretation. It's just it's a term. It's a construct. Like, this is a thing. You can't hand me chaos. Give me some. You pass the chaos.
Yeah, I have a slice of chaos, please.
Yeah, right. Because that'd be fun. Doing that next time we go to a restaurant. I'll have the chaos, extra chaos. So it's just an idea, right? It's just an interpretation. So I can choose peace, or I could choose chaos. And ain't bad just is. That actually, so I'm from New Jersey, right? Originally from New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. Go Birds. And this is the reigning Super Bowl championship team. I'm just saying. So I like to Jerseyfy things.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm a Jersey boy, so I like to, dumb stuff down or put my little South Jersey twist on it. So that actually comes from William Shakespeare. He didn't say it that way. It actually comes from Hamlet. Act 2, Scene 2. Hamlet is in prison. He's imprisoned by the King of Denmark, I believe, unjustly, and he's pissed off and he's complaining. And then he interrupts himself and he says, nothing good or bad happens, actually, but thinking makes it so, which is profound, right? So I twist that a little bit into ain't bad, just is. Everything just is. And ain't good either.
Mm-hmm.
It just is.
Yeah.
And we get to choose on how we want it to be.
Yeah.
Like all day long. What are you gonna say? Go ahead.
So I was just going to say it's like either a blank piece of paper or a child's coloring in sheet.
Yeah.
We get to color it in however we want.
That's it. We get to. So all day long, we're interpreting reality in one of three ways. Low grade, like this sucks.
Mm-hmm.
High grade, this is awesome. Neutral, don't care. Blue pen, no emotional charge. You aren't jazzed about that. You ain't pissed about it. Just isness on that. Right? That's neutral. That's the observation. Neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Observation is a neutral interpretation. And we're doing it all day long. Right? We're complaining, low grade interpretation of reality. We're celebrating, high grade interpretation of reality, or isness. And that's our choice.
Mm-hmm.
We have the ability to choose our responses. And that's what that mental toughness definition is about, right? Through the inner world practice. Practicing, examining, and upgrading, when desirable, my interpretations, my low grade interpretations of reality. Here's a suggestion for your listeners, and I mean this very sincerely. This is something that's very important to my life and has changed many people's lives. Start reducing the frequency with which you complain, starting now. Complain less today than you would have had you not heard this. And then complain less tomorrow than you did today. And have that repeat forever. How? Why? Let's start with why and then go to how. Why? Complaining is stupid. Right? And you watch that video from Michael Singer, he does a beautiful job of explaining why, but a succinct summary of it is that it deactivates intelligence. It's you struggling against reality, and as Byron Katie said, that's a battle you lose 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not smart. There's value to it because nobody would do anything if they didn't get something out of it. But the value, like bonding through negativity or venting, okay, good. But what if you didn't need to vent? What if you interpreted the event in the first place in a way that wouldn't build steam that needs venting? Well, then you don't need to, right? So the cost far outweighs the benefits. So that's why. Why should I start systematically replacing complaints with expressions of sincere gratitude or enthusiasm? All right, now how? You catch yourself. Catch yourself in complaint and catch yourself when you're feeling unpleasant and you don't want to be or you can't afford to be, like if you're trying to perform.
Mm-hmm.
Or when you just don't want to. We create so much unnecessary suffering. I love sadness, but I don't want to have a ton of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to have zero suffering. I want to have some I think sadness is pure and sweet. And it gives beautiful contrast. Right? But I don't want a ton of it. So when I don't want to feel unpleasant, I want to catch myself when I'm in low grade interpretations of reality.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, when I feel like crap and I want to own it. You're a fan of Marcus Aurelius.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of his million amazing quotes is that if you're troubled by something, it's not the thing itself, but your own estimate of it, which you have the right to revoke at any time. And that's what this practice is, revoking, you exercising your right to upgrade your interpretation of reality. So that's how. That's how do I start reducing, like really, like actively, measurably, materially, reducing the frequency with which I complain is start paying attention to them and be excited. You're going to be astonished. If you do this, you, meaning everyone who's listening to this, you will be astonished with the frequency with which you complain. Scientists did some research on that. Do you want to take a guess? This is so fun. Do you want to take a guess on the frequency? How often do you think, Dave, that human beings complain on average?
Mm. Oh dear, I'm going to get this crashingly wrong.
Well,
But let's see what happens.
yeah.
I'm going to be bold and say 60% of the time.
I'm trying to do some good math. That could be really accurate. Well, some math wizard can do the math for us on this, but this is what I gathered from the research is once every 11 seconds.
Okay.
That's 5 times a minute.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's like 300 times an hour. So maybe it's more than that.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So now here's the thing that when you hear that, you're like, oh bullshit. Well, let's just assume, you know, for our commitment to our own freeing ourselves from suffering, right? Let's just assume that's correct. Because complaints, 90%, I'm sure that 99% of my complaints happen silently in my mind. They never make it into the spoken world. They're just like inside, like just little shit. Like, oh, I wish I had more water. I should have filled my water cup before this. You know, my pen runs out of it. Just little stuff. Oh, there's something in my shit. Tons and tons and tons and tons of little problems. Like when you really pay attention, they don't have to be huge deals. Like, I can't stand this administration, or you know, there shouldn't be sex trafficking. No, it's just like the little God, some of my shit. Tons of having a problem with what is. So let's have fun. This is another get to. Right? Let's have fun gamifying this. Gamifying the practice of replacing complaint, which is a low-grade interpretation of reality, which deactivates intelligence, and no one will ever be excellent in a sustainable way under those circumstances, with high-grade interpretations that include enthusiasm and gratitude, which are two of the smartest emotional states we could ever choose to think our way into, because that activates all forms of creative genius, which has us create excellence. So there's an invitation for everyone.
I think thank you for sharing that. I think what's exciting, given the role that you and I have in the world, that we've chosen to do, but also get the privilege of doing, is being with people when they have those kind of realizations and seeing the physical shift in them in the process, normally lighting up in some way, even sitting taller, beaming from ear to ear, and you know, or sometimes even shedding a tear, but in a wow, look what's possible, I can't believe I've not seen that kind of way, rather than a sad, I can't believe I've not seen it that way. It's such a privilege to be able to see that when people realize that for themselves, and that they realize that that was them beforehand and it's now them going forwards, and that they're now aware of it, that they know that they have a choice, they have the capacity to choose, which is game changing. So thank you for sharing that.
It is absolutely it couldn't be more game changing, and that's what really is our mission, right? Is to remember to be our first clients, right? To remember that we have that choice, and we don't need. That's what Buddha committed his life to, right? Is suffering necessary? No. And we get to choose. We get to choose. You know, we all learn to be victims of circumstance, like Marcus Aurelius said. But we learn it. It's part of the game that we get to play as humans. Is we hide ourselves to find ourselves. Ultimate game of hide and seek, right?
And we do it repeatedly sometimes.
Yes, we do. Yeah, and that's the game. But the more we find ourselves, the less we hide ourselves, and the more we remember, the less we forget. And the more freedom we feel, and the levity that comes with that, the lightness of being that comes with, playing well with the universe.
Mm.
Yeah, Alan Watts. I love Alan Watts. Alan Watts said, "Each of us is an aperture through which the universe observes itself. Only the game that we're playing is to not know that." It's fun, right? It's fun. He's so funny. Um, Put another way, the game that we're playing is to awaken to that, right? So choice. Yeah, we have a choice. So I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to share a short story with you about how all of us learn to permit the outer world to govern the inner world. And that's the source of suffering.
Mhm.
And you could call it being a victim of circumstance. It is what it's called. Little girl comes home from school and she's all smiles, and her mom sees her and she says, "Oh my God, honey, look at you. You're so happy. That's so great. What happened? Did you make a new friend at school today?" And the little girl says, "No new students at the school, mommy, today." And the mom says, "Okay, well, what is it? Why are you, you got cupcakes at recess." And the little girl says, "Uh-uh." And the mom continues. She goes, "Well, what is it? What happened? Why are you so, you got a sticker on your spelling quiz." The little girl says, "Well, we didn't have any quizzes today, mommy." So here's this loving exchange between this precious little girl and the most influential person in the universe, her hero in life, her mommy. And yet, embedded within this inquiry is a disastrous lesson that the mom does not know she's teaching and the daughter does not know she's learning, but it's happening. And you know what it is,
Mhm.
that there needs to be a reason, that there's no such thing as causeless joy. Like the framing of the question is, honey, why are you, just that question, why are you, that's a terrible question. Little girl could say, "Why the hell not? Why, you want to try it, Ma? Give it a whirl. It's kind of cool. Just cause. Why are you so happy?" What a stupid question. What a stupid question. Why are you happy? Why wouldn't I be? Because I get to choose it. I just chose it. There's no reason. We get to make that choice. It would be so much more useful. So the girl's learning without knowing that she needs to wait for something good to occur. There needs to be a reason. And she got a few examples of things that would legitimize choosing joy. Okay, so if I made a friend, that would give me permission. Then if I got cupcakes, I'm definitely allowed to now. Stickers, they can have me be happy. So all these things in the outer world that bring joy. She's learning that things bring joy. No, and she's going to stop choosing it. And she's also learning that other things, certain other, like if I don't get stickers, if I don't get a cupcake or somebody else does, and that's bad, then that has me feel. So the outer world is governing my inner world experience completely. So none of us are exempt from learning to let the outer world govern the inner world.
Mm.
So the mantra for that is my outer world is a reflection of my inner world. So I want to put enormous effort into upgrading my inner world experience so that I can more effortlessly create beauty in my life, in my world, in the world.
Mm. That leads me to ask a question that was bubbling away before the story, but now perfectly segues in. For those that haven't read your book, what is it you say to yourself first thing in the morning?
BDDOML is written on my bathroom mirror. And I often sing it. Oh my team, this is so great. For my birthday last year, this is so fantastic. I have an amazing support team.
Mm-hmm.
They created a hip hop song called Best Damn Day of My Life.
Uh-huh.
I'll share it with you.
Cool. Please do.
It's so good. The lyrics are amazing and it's just cool. And I'm doing, like, you are infinitely, your word is ironclad. So I'm taking action right now to make sure that I keep my word to you.
That's kind of you.
Yeah. Song to Dave. All right. So Written on my bathroom mirror is best damn day of my life. So there's another mantra, which is create the state, don't wait. And that's one of my favorites. Going back to the question you asked
Hmm.
earlier, that is definitely one of the ones we hit always. Create the state, don't wait. Okay. And that means, well, what state? Whatever the hell you want. So in this case, I don't want to wait for anything phenomenal to occur in my day in order for it to be a phenomenal day. So I just go all the way to the end, to top, and say, well, why not have this be the best damn day of my life? What would one reason to not? Well, I lost. I can't think of one reason, like a good one, why I could think of a lot of stupid reasons, but not a good one why I wouldn't do that. So until I do come up with a reason why I wouldn't do it, I'm just going to keep doing it. I've been doing it for about 5, 6 years, and I haven't missed a day, and I don't have a reason to. So best, and including days that follow like tragedy and whatnot. I get it, yeah, right. And I'm not saying anybody should do this
Hmm.
at all. This is my deal.
Hmm.
I encourage people to experiment with it, but I sure as hell don't say that anybody should do this. But I wake up and I declare it's the best damn day of my life. And I will admit that it's some days that is not easy. It's work. A lot of days it's very easy. I have a very good life. I've created a really nice life. So a lot of days it is very easy. I wish well, I'm not even going to finish that sentence. I don't like that's bullshit. Uh, I'm doing the work right now. You're watching me do the work.
Hmm.
I'm watching my mouth and I'm redirecting myself because what I was about to utter was nonsense. But this could have been handy when I was younger.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, right? Like when my life wasn't so brilliant, when I was super poor and scared shitless of my future. Practices like this would be very useful under those circumstances. They're useful for me now. I think they'd be even potentially more useful in those days. That's interesting. I never thank you for the inspiration for that thought. I've never thought that through. But to answer your question, I choose to have it be the best day of my life. Then I bring that vibe out into the world. And that's contagious.
Hmm.
One of my mentors, Dr. Allison Arnold, Doc Allie, among a million other things she taught me, was that we're all always either purifying or polluting the environment with our vibes.
Hmm.
So what do you want to be doing? What do you want people to be catching? It's all contagious. So what's the contagion that you want people catching from you? And I want it to be high vibes. So I do that first thing in the day. Now, whenever anyone asks me throughout the day, whether they mean it or not, how you doing? Because a lot of people say, how you doing? And it's just a way of saying hi. They don't give a shit. They're like, I'm really wondering, how are you?
Yeah.
So they're just like a way of saying hi, but I don't care because the question itself has become now a reminder for me to do it again in that moment. Do what again? Have it be the best damn day of my life. So I'll be at the grocery store and I'll go through the checkout line and the person working there will say, how you doing? No eye contact. Don't care. Sometimes I do, but there's one particular
Hmm.
woman. She goes, "How you doing?" And she doesn't really look happy very much. And I go, "It's the best damn day of my life. Thank you for asking." And she goes, "Hmm." Then I did it again and again and again. And I always get in her line. Even if it's the longest one, I'll get in her line if she's there because I know. And then one day I said, thank you so much for asking me. This is the best damn day of my life. And I'll say it loud so people can hear it. And she goes like this. She rolled her eyes at me. No, I still get in her line, right? She stopped asking me. She stopped asking me how I'm doing. You want to hear it? Oh, it's too bad. But anyway, that's the practice, and it doesn't need to be like I said. That's no one else needs to do that. But I do encourage everyone to experiment with like first thing in the day, first thing in the morning, first thing of the day, is to elevate your state. Doesn't need to be the best damn day of your life, but elevate your state. Do whatever. Like you can wake up after having some funky dreams and you're in a weird ick. And there's just dreams.
Mm-hmm.
But you're letting that govern your state, and your state governs the way you show up in the world, what goes on, what you create. So alter your state.
Yeah.
Vibe up.
There's so much in that, that the amount of people that will have experienced the reverse of walking into a room which is through the floor in the way that it's feeling, and feeling like they're getting pulled into the morass of whatever upset is going on in that meeting, and oh my goodness, this one's going to be hard work. Using your word there of experimenting, when I first started seeing the possibilities for owning how I showed up in the world, I would walk into meetings where I was working at the time going, well, yeah, you can all sit in the shallow end if you want to be and have a really rubbish time. I'm going to dive in the deep end and have a great time. And sometimes people would get upset with me because I wasn't joining them in the misery. And other times people would get curious, and we'd see things start rising up. And okay, there's definitely stuff to play with here. And I love that, because we are all experiments. We are a walking work in progress. And just because we've got into a ritual or a habit of seeing things a certain way doesn't mean that we can't change the parameters of the way we're doing the experiment and see if we get a different result. And I love that.
I have a YouTube channel, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. And I encourage your audience to go to my YouTube channel and watch a particular video, which is entitled "How to Benefit from Enthusiasm." So if you go to my YouTube channel and just go to the search bar and just put enthusiasm, it'll come up. It's a 27-minute long video that I recorded after a miraculous day. And the short version of it is this. I was flying to San Francisco to do a workshop for emerging women leaders at a company called Salesforce at their headquarters. And for whatever strange reason, they decided to fly me out the day of. Now, that'll never happen again, because now, because of this, I get my own flights, and I always fly the day before. But whatever, I was flying out the day. Now that's a gamble. There's risk with that, and all the risk factors materialized. So I'm going to really abbreviate. I'm like super abbreviate the story, but the full version is 27 minutes because I want every detail in there, because it's so miraculously beautiful. But for the sake of time, I'll give you the Cliff's Notes here. Delay. Right, went out onto the tarmac, ready to go. Some overhead bin broken, couldn't close. We had to go back. They fixed that. We go back out on the tarmac, and then the captain comes on. This is after like 2.5 or 3 hours of delay.
Mm-hmm.
And I still was cool. I still had time, because they at least got me a really early flight, and my session wasn't starting until like 1 p.m. So I could still like just make it. The captain comes on and says, I'm so sorry, everybody. This is not an announcement that any captain likes to make, but our flight crew has timed out. We are no longer legally allowed to fly. This crew, we've been working too many hours. We have to go back to the gate. This flight is canceled. That moment, the whole cabin went berserk. Well, one dude in particular went berserk. Everybody let out a collective like sigh of shit. Me included. And that's pretty funny, because this is a mental coach being hired to go do a workshop to teach mental toughness. And I'm sitting there going, shit, on the way to it. That's pretty funny.
Mhm.
So, but that's reality, right? And then this guy, he goes postal. He gets on his phone and he's like, he's right next to me. And he's standing in the aisle. He's not supposed to be standing, but he is screaming at some poor ticket agent on the other end of that line. And I'm thankful for that man because he was an immediate reminder for me of who I don't want to be and how
Mhm.
I don't want to be. So I thought, oh, yeah, yes, thank you. I'm going to the other end of the emotional spectrum. He was down here. I'm going all the way up. So I created enthusiasm. So I started talking to myself like this. This is amazing. I'm going to create a game out of this. I'm getting there. I don't care if I need to hire a private jet and spend all the money they're paying me to get there. Oh, it'll be a great story and worth. I'm getting there. So I vibe up and then I call American Airlines. And I'm vibed up. I'm like, woo, let's go. And the woman that answers, she's like, hello. And I said, my name's Julie. How can I help you? Like, Julie, we got a game, me and you, and we're gonna win it. Are you down? And she goes, oh my God, I love this. Hell yeah, let's go. And I told her what the situation was. And she's like, okay, all right, cool. What gate are you at? I'm like, I can't, I don't know. I can't see out the window yet. She goes, well, when you get off the plane, I was sitting on it like that. I was halfway back in the plane, like on
Mhm.
the wings. So as soon as she said, tell me where you're at. So I got out. I'm like, it's A18. She goes, oh my God, perfect. I'm like, okay. She goes, can you see A9? And I go, yeah, it's way that. She goes, run. I feel like I'm in like Mission Impossible or something, right? So I'm like hauling ass, like bugging down there. And she goes, is the door open? I go, yes. She goes, is there a person there? I'm like, yes. And she goes, tell him, don't close the door. I'm like, sir, don't close the door. And he's like, what the hell? So I go over there and like, are there any? She said, ask me if there are any seats left. Because it's a flight to San Fran that was delayed.
Mhm.
And I say, sir, are there any seats left? And he goes, let me look. And he prints out a boarding pass and goes, there's one. And he hands it to me. I'm like, Julie, you're amazing. She goes, oh, that was easy. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. And she goes, have a great day. I'm like, I guarantee you I will. And we hang up. I'm like, thank you, sir. And I'm walking, down the gateway to get on the plane. And the guy comes back. The ticket agent. He comes down there and he chases me down. He goes, sir, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I need to take that back. And I give it to him. And he rips it up. I'm like, rude. And he reaches in his pocket and he hands me a first class ticket. And I'm like, you, that was nice. That was nice. So here's the deal. So I got there and I did my gig and I was on time. And the Uber driver that picked me up loved this story so much that he decided to wait 4 hours for me and listen to that. That's 5 hours long. It's one of my audio programs, right? The Creating Your Dream course. And he listened to the whole thing and took notes while he was outside. And he ended up becoming a driver for Salesforce. It's amazing. That's just one of the many miracles that occurred. So then I'm going back after my gig is over. I'm going back to fly home. I'm at the airport. I'm in San Francisco, walk right by the yoga. There's a yoga studio in San Francisco Airport, right past. And right then I see all these people walking past who I'm recognizing.
Mhm.
They're all the people from the original flight. They just got there. I am the only person from that entire flight that got to San Francisco on time. There were 2 chairs empty on that other alternative flight to San Francisco. I got one, the other remained empty. Why? You know why? Because everybody was busy being shitty. Oh, you wouldn't believe, yeah, oh no, like you won't even believe this is a train wreck. Instead of like looking around, the words, half the flight got off in front of me, but the sign says San Francisco in lights, and the doors open, and no one said, hey man, anything on there? Can I get on? No one, because they didn't even see the solution was right there. And that's
Mhm.
often the case in life. The solution is right there, but where we're in complaint, we ain't seeing it.
Mhm.
So enthusiasm, back to that again. Vibe up. That woman wanted to help me. That man, I know, he didn't get there. The angry guy, he didn't get there. He just got heartburn.
Yeah, it's fascinating when we allow ourselves to step back and see what else is available, and we're looking at the world with curiosity rather than, as you said, complaint. Complaint is focused. Um, Curiosity is completely open, and
Well, I
when
love
we're curious about things, all bets are off. We can find all kinds of solutions that are there and available, but for where our blinkers are, if the blinkers are on, we won't see them.
I hope that you'll do a post on that. That was brilliantly articulated. Have you ever said it like that before? Complaint is focused and curiosity is open? Because that's,
Probably not exactly like that, but
well,
yes,
you
at
know
some
what?
point. Yeah.
I hope that you'll do a post on that because that is some good shit, right? That is nice.
Thank you very much. I will get writing.
Yeah. And I'm going to use it, but I'm going to credit you.
That's very kind. That's very kind. I'll draw a picture and you can use that.
Love it. Love those posts of yours. Those are so whoever's listening to this, if you're not connected with Dave Hill on LinkedIn, do it. His posts are absolutely awesome and
That's very,
artistic and like lighthearted. It's just fun,
mm,
and relevant and poignant. It's good stuff.
that's really kind of you to say.
Yeah, it's true.
Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. It's everything I thought it would be and more. And I'm very, very grateful for your time.
Well, thank you, Dave. I'll tell you what, a little feedback. You are brilliant. I love the language that you use. You're reflective. I love that you're really present. You're cool with there being silence on a podcast. That is brilliant. I love that because because you just get quiet and go, well, what's the next thought? Because there's a million, which is the one, and you're really present with that. So thank you. This has been great.
Thank you
You're
so
amazing.
much.
You're really amazing at this. Yeah.
That's very kind of you. I know that the gold is in the silence, whether
Mm.
that's me giving myself space for myself or me giving my clients space for them. And that using your language, the vibe that we give off when we're comfortable in silence encourages others to be comfortable there too. And that's such a lovely thing to be able to do for another human being.
Can I share one tiny little story before we go with
Please
just
do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
remember I said I was studying at the Oneness University.
Hmm.
So every night, your own personal teacher, who's called a Dasaji, would come and visit and say, "So, what was today like? What did you learn? You have questions?" So my Dasaji came that night, and I said to her, "I have been waiting for you because I have a great question for you." She goes, "Oh, what is it?" And I said, "What is your definition of enlightenment?" And she smiled like I had just given her a Lamborghini. She like the question itself was like this beautiful present for her. So she went like this. And she must have stayed that way, smiling, looking at the ceiling for 45 seconds before she answered. So while she's doing that, I'm like, she's modeling the answer.
Hmm.
I almost don't care what she says because this is a great answer, just the way she's taking the question. But there is more. So she comes back and she says, having no internal conflict. Exactly. That's exactly I thought, wow, that is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the game that we get to play to free ourselves from the conditioning of our past that would have us experience so much inner conflict. Woo!
Mhm. Yeah. And brings us full circle back to why this is called the Simple Reflections
And full
podcast,
reflex, exactly.
and why my company is called Simplicity in Mind.
Beautiful.
We When we see things clearly, they look simple. In fact, as you said, they look effortless.
Mhm.
And when we're in that space, we're going in the we're on a more comfortable path. And when we're not feeling it, that's absolutely perfect too, because it's letting us know that we're overcomplicating it, and we've got an opportunity to choose a different option.
You're a genius.
It's kind of you to say so.
I'm
Um,
so glad that the world is benefiting from you and the choices that you're making and how you're using your life. So bravo.
Thank you so much, and thank you again for taking the time to speak to me today and to share this with whoever's listening. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. It's been super fun. Thank you too.
Take care.
What a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. I had a lovely time listening back to it and hearing it all again. Anyway, if there's any questions that come up as a result of the conversation today or anything that you have for me about the work that I do, please just get in touch. Take care. Look after yourselves. Speak soon.
Thank you for joining us today. If you've enjoyed the conversation, feel free to subscribe and join me and my new guest next time. If you're interested in the work I'm doing, or you think I can be of service to you or your organisation, please email dave@simplicityofmind.co.uk. Remember, see if you can find time to slow down and reflect. Those simple ideas might be worth listening to. Take care, and I hope you can join me in a couple of weeks.